Hello, podcast listeners and anime fans. This is Torin.
And this is Andrew.
Welcome to our seasonal episode of Anime Digression. So normally each episode we talk about a particular series, but this time around we're going to be talking about the fall 2021 season of anime that came out. Kind of going to go through and discuss different ones that we're watching and talk about, after watching 3 episodes of them, if we plan to continue to watch them or to drop them. So before we get into that, though, if you're the type of person who likes to watch ahead, the next episode that we're going to cover is actually Tsukimichi Moonlight Fantasy. So if you want to watch that series and get on top of it before an episode releases about it, that's what we're watching next. Also for this,
gotten much better at saying that.
Yeah, that's what happens when you say it multiple times. Also, though, for this, spoiler alert, we are talking about stuff that is coming out in the first 3 or 4 episodes of these various shows, potentially. So if they're the type of person who doesn't want any spoilers at all, warning, but it's only the first 3 or 4 episodes, so there's not much spoiler-wise.
Yeah, the plot hasn't started in some of these.
Yeah.
And some won't start at all.
Yeah, some just don't have plot. Most of them just like a little bit of a hint. With that being said, the few shows we're talking about that are not new and they're on like their second or whatever season, we're going to put those towards the end, so that way we can put them behind another spoiler wall for you. With one exception, which is Restaurant to Another World, because it doesn't matter, and we want to talk about that show. So that one we are going to cover earlier, but the rest of them, like Demon Slayer and all that, we'll put towards the end. That way we don't potentially spoil anything for those of you who want to catch up on them.
Right.
I guess that's about it. So with that aside, Andrew, what do you want to start us off with the first show?
I'm hungry, so I'm going to start us off immediately with Isekai Shodoku. That's not right. Restaurant to Another World.
So Isekai Shokudo 2?
Yes.
I think I got that right. I don't know.
That's a little closer.
After doing this podcast for long enough,
I think I said Sudoku. Maybe we'll learn Japanese in the course of the podcast.
Maybe. I'm totally watching Restaurant. Love that show so much. And what do you like about it?
It's mostly just a gorgeous food anime with not a lot of plot. Like, individual characters have their own minor plots, but it doesn't really matter. It's just there to make me really hungry.
Yeah, that seems to be a lot of it. No, that's kind of what I like about it too. It's just a relaxing, calming, like food anime, which is great. I do sometimes wonder if I wish they got a little bit more into the food, like the actual making of the food.
Prep of the food rather than like other people's reactions to the food, but
yeah, I think pretty much the entire show is just like, here, we're going to introduce you to this food, and then like you watch the reaction to the character. So it's like character story.
And they're all fantasy characters in another world who've never experienced X food.
It's like, oh, they don't know what tempura is.
Yeah. Or tempura.
They have to comment about how flaky and wonderful like panko breadcrumbs are and stuff. It's so calming and relaxing. And like I said, I think the only thing I don't even know if I care that much about it, but the only real dislike I have is that it makes me really hungry. So.
Yep. That's exactly why.
But no,
eat something beforehand or have something ready after.
Yeah, it's great for those who are interested in food or just want that type of show that you put on and you just have that like slight smirk the entire time you're watching it. It's just nice, calming.
Mm-hmm.
I probably should have
muted
my phone. Okay, then. Let's go ahead and do that real quick.
And while you're doing that, I'll introduce the next one because I already know what you're going to say.
Yeah.
And it is the Far Away Paladin.
For those who don't know, the premise is that Will's a human child that is being raised by Mary, who's a mummified priestess, Blood, a skeletal warrior, and Gus, a spectral sorcerer. The 3 teach and raise Will, which starts to expand Will's interest and curiosity of the world, that about his caregivers. Pretty cool premise. The show, what I like about it is that it doesn't immediately answer all the questions, which is really nice. At this point, the isekai nature of it doesn't impact it like at all. in essence, we just have a hint that in essence he's been isekai.
Well, yeah, he's a reincarnated person, but it's mentioned like once, and it seemingly hasn't affected anyone.
Yeah, which is kind of nice because that means either they're going to go the route of it just not really mattering and it just setting him up with the premise of like why he's a genius and able to go quick, or it means that they're going to make that a pretty pivotal nature later. So I kind of like that about it. And it's really nice that they're setting up these like Chekhov's guns and uh, interesting aspects to the Pantheon, but not
They're
just immediately entering them.
they're adding aspects to the world which could be explored later.
Yeah, I like that about it. The only thing I don't like about it is it's kind of slow for the first couple episodes because they're introducing the world, introducing the characters, and
I
that
feel
means
like it's only slow because you want the next episode to come out.
that's possible too. Um, but I know the third episode was a big deal because that's where it picked up. Like at the very end
Right.
of the third episode is where it's like, okay, here's the actual action. Like here's the plot starting to develop,
Mhm.
and that made it way better. So it's one of those where I was pretty certain I was going to watch it, and then after the third episode, I was like, yes, I'm going to continue watching this as long as they don't do something stupid. But which I don't think you've have you picked up this one at all? You watching?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've been watching it from the start.
Yeah, so nice, so nice. So I'm pretty excited about this one. I have a feeling it's not going to be amazing, but a worthwhile watch. Do you want to go ahead and cover the next one? What
Yeah,
do we got
sure.
next?
Just keep me doing it.
Well, this
Suki no
next one's all you.
No Torado, yeah. Yeah, because don't believe you said you were watching this.
Not yet.
You're in Vampire Cosmonaut. It's a modern world Cold War era. It's not USSR in a space race with the not UK. After a successful launch with a dog, decide the next step in humanity's spaceflight is vampire spaceflight.
Oh, of course.
And they've assigned backup astronaut Lev to be to teach the vampire Irina to be a cosmonaut. It's basically about a cute tsundere vampire and a really earnest human working through each other's issues and the overreaching hand of a totalitarian government.
Wow. Who'd have thought that could be a thing?
Yeah, and not USSR. Who would have expected that?
So did they actually specify what year like this is happening in?
I don't believe so, but
Okay.
I don't know our own spaceflight history very well, so it's probably based on real dates.
I mean, if they're covering Sputnik, it'd be 1950s to 1960s, so somewhere in there.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Because I think we got to the moon in 68 or 69, I think, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So this would probably be early 60s. That's what I was just curious if they were going with that technology, like that premise.
Yeah, they're using the like real dirty early technology. It's not fancy at all.
Giant CRT monitors for everything.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool that they're
Pipes
actually
and things.
That's
Near
cool. That's awesome that they're kind of holding that. It'd be interesting then to watch it from that perspective of also seeing how different things were, like without cell phones and with super giant complex computers that are not complex but complex for their time. That's really cool. No, this is one I want to pick up.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a romance, but there's the hint of that in the first couple of episodes where Lev gets over his intense fear of vampires to realize that Irina's pretty cute.
Yeah, that's just nice. It does make me wonder what with a vampire, what would happen to them if they were in space?
Who knows?
Exposed
to the sun in space?
Yeah.
Who knows?
That's even a good point I didn't think about. Hopefully they got really good shielding. Is there anything you dislike about it, or is it going pretty good?
My only complaint is we're doing it's fantasy Russia thing again, or the fantasy not this country thing again. It's like why can't you just say it's this country in fantasy land?
Yeah, because trying to. I'm assuming this is a Japanese anime.
Yes,
Not
of
Chinese
course.
or anything like that. So yeah, I wonder why they feel the need to like hide all these countries and not just use the actual countries. Um, I don't know. Maybe that's something about Japanese culture that I don't
Yeah, or
understand.
laws. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know.
maybe it's easier for them to get sued over stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe. All right. I'll get into the next one then, which is Taisho Otome Otogabanashi, or Taisho Otome Fairy Tale. Which I don't think you're watching this one, right?
No, I took a look, and this isn't something I would end up watching, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty. I don't know if I would. I guess I would say kind of mid-range romance. It doesn't feel like it's a hardcore romance, like your
Hmm.
classic,
It's a
high school
it's a
on each other
cutesy. Mhm.
type thing. No, but it's a. They say comedy. I haven't seen that so far, but drama, slice of life, romance type thing. Definitely heavy on the drama and slice of life. So the premise is Tamahiko Shima is living in isolation after being thrown aside by his family after an accident that lost him his dominant arm and mother. After living in isolation, and did I fix this? Yes, I did. After living in isolation, Tamahiko has resigned himself to dying alone, and this has been challenged by Yuzuki Tachibana arriving on his doorstep as a bride sent by his father. Tachibana proceeds to take care of Tamahiko, giving him a reason to heal as their love blossoms. Um, no, I like this because it's delving into that like adolescent depression and that adolescent emotion. So that premise of the father, in essence, throwing his son aside because his son lost his dominant right arm. Most likely, it's actually his father blaming him for the mother's death. Assuming that's actually most of it, but
Hmm.
they hinge it on the concept of like this
Did his father
family's
cut off his arm, or
no. It's he got in an accident. He has his arm. It's just in essence. I'm assuming his strength is so low he can't do anything with it.
hmm,
Because it does show him like moving it around, but for the most part, he just kind of lets it
he
dangle.
can't swing a sword, so he's useless?
Wow, this is like a modern time thing. The big thing is their families.
I
Uh,
repeat.
yeah, his family's very well off, so they're huge in the business, like in business. So he's got a bunch of kids. They're all being raised to be super intelligent in business.
Okay, so you're telling me all of his kids are messed up at this point, I
Oh
think.
yes, yes. And in the third episode, you meet the younger sister, super messed up. Thinks everyone hates her. She's the smartest of them. Therefore, she has a super sharp tongue, and therefore everyone hates her. So I'm sure it's a catch-22. She was the
Mhm.
smartest, so she probably started to think people hated her. So she developed a very sharp tongue. So people hate her because she has a sharp tongue. So
Okay.
I really love the
It's,
fact it's delving into that idea, though, of family conflict and that perspective of how people might see the way their family acts and what they're doing and get something out of it that's not necessarily true. So they have blinded eyes. And
thing you didn't like about it?
the main character is kind of annoying at first. It's like, is so, they have him so wallowed up in his depression that like Yuzuki shows up. She's super pure, super nice. Like, despite the fact she was sold to the family, to pay off or to wipe out her father's debt to the family. She's that like country girl, country like perfect wife girl. And the main character for the first two episodes just like,
Wines.
yeah, it's just like I'm gonna wallow in my room, despite the fact you're trying to be nice, and like it gets annoying at first. But luckily, by the third episode, they start to have him opening up a bit, despite some
Mhm.
issues. So if you kind of get past that first episode or two, it starts to open up and actually start the development, and it's a lot easier to deal with. That
Okay.
first episode could be rough. As you're kind of watching this main character, you're like, dude, just
Stand up a little
somewhat,
bit.
yeah, just Just
But
stop like every
that,
little thing put you in your room.
to be fair, neither of us have intense depression currently, so it
Yeah,
might be more relatable to people with depression.
I'm sure it is. And
So
yeah, I'm sure that's going to be a big part of it. So
the next
yeah, I'm going to
show,
watch it. Next show.
yeah, next show on my list is Banished from the Heroes Party. I decided to live a quiet life in the countryside, which sounds like a light novel, and I refuse to try to read that Japanese title because it will be here forever.
I mean, I could try. I kind of want to try. Okay, I'm going to try this. It's so freaking long. Shindo Nakama Janai to Yusha no Party wo Adasareta node Henkyo no or Henkyo di Slow Life Suru Koto ni Shimeshita. I'm sure that was not right. Let me know below how bad that was. Do you want to give us the premise of the show though?
Show about Red, who previously was part of the Heroes Party, but he was told by one person that he was useless in combat, so he should just bail. So now he leaves and goes to the middle of nowhere in the countryside and opens an apothecary.
Yeah. No, so I'm watching this and I like it so far.
Yeah,
Like,
it's so far cute and not much has been happening.
yeah, and
Um,
I guess that's one of the downsides to it is I think it's easy to go into the show and it not follow your expectation because you kind of get that promise with the heroes party in the title and with the
that it's going to be actiony,
yeah, there
but
might be some
it's
action.
not. There's a little bit of action in the first episode, but since then, I don't think there's been much. Um, but characters seem to act like mostly real people. Like they're not caricatures exactly.
Yeah,
Um,
despite the fantasy aspect, I'd agree.
right. The main
Like
two characters have had personality development, and they show this
yeah,
slowly.
and it's not a romance that is in your face. Like it's
Are
believable.
you serious? It
Well, you
is
know what I mean
very in
is
your face.
what I
It's
mean. What
disgustingly cute.
it's disgustingly cute. What I'm getting at is it's it feels somewhat real. It's not like they pick up on each other too quickly, and
It's not that they looked into each other's eyes and suddenly they're in love.
yeah, and it's also not that way where it feels the main. So Red does feel a little bit like uh, I'm trying to think
The
how I would.
the stoic Japanese protagonist.
Yeah, I'm trying to think how. So he feels dense, but he doesn't feel to me uh like unrealistic dense. Like you can tell there's hints that he's picking up on what's going on,
He
and you
just
start
doesn't show it or say it.
yeah, you're sitting there going, okay, I think he's picking up that she likes him, but he's
He's
either too embarrassed to want to like reciprocate or
mhm.
uh he's still a little unsure. It's not like the typical romance person that's dense where it's like, dude, you how are you picking up nothing? Like
Yeah, yeah.
it's like you should. So I appreciate the fact that it does feel realistic, uh, and it is disgustingly cute. And that is the downside to it. No, but
Yeah,
I do
it's
like the
good.
fact that they feel like real people.
Yeah,
Um,
it is good. I'll keep watching it.
yeah, I'm
Uh,
gonna keep watching it. Oh, let's see next. Oh, all right.
ooh, yeah, I see
Oh,
that on that list.
oh, okay. Let's get into Shinka no. Oh wow, Shinka no
Nope.
Mi, Shirenai Uchi ni Kachigumi Jinsei. The fruit of evolution. Before I knew it, my life had it made. Oh, I think you're watching this too, right?
I'm watching this. It's trash. It's complete trash. I'm
I
gonna keep watching it. It's trash.
so as I was researching, uh, getting like the thumbnail worked out for this video that we're doing, and checking out all these different shows, I kept seeing pictures of this popping up under like people's thumbnails and stuff for like best or most anticipated shows.
Hmm.
Man, it's trash. I'm like, I hope I hope this is people who are like, oh, that sounds really good, and then they're not. actually
They
talking
didn't have a
about it after it came
background.
out.
Yeah.
Oh, this thing's so trash. So the premise is that out of nowhere, a voice addresses a school classroom claiming to be God. God announces he will be transporting the class to another world, and people should group up. Saichi, who is a loner, fails to group up as the class is transported, dropping in away from the other students. Follow his adventures, he works to survive in another world and becomes a champion. Um, this is a train wreck. It's what do we like about it? I'm assuming it's the same for you. It's just stupid fun because it's so bad.
Right. Yeah. It's fun to watch a burning trash fire, but you don't have anything good to say about the smell.
Yeah, if we actually cover this under an episode, it might be the first show where I'm tempted to give negative scores. Where
I will
something
look up a
is
thesaurus entry for the word trash,
yeah,
and
it's just one of those shows that's so bad that it's almost good. You have to go into it with that expectation of don't pay attention to the rules of the world, don't pay attention to how the world works
none
or
of the
any plot development. It's like,
and maybe mute the thing while the main character talks.
yeah, oh man, he's so annoying. But the
He's
thing is,
absolutely annoying, and he's intended to be annoying. I'm certain
yeah, if you go
because
into this just wanting, if you go into this just with the flow and just wanting to have a good time, it's actually okay. And I have a feeling it'll be decently rated by people from that perspective. But if you go into this wanting any sort of emotion, any sort of plot, or any like intrigue into
consistent,
how the
consistent
world building
world.
is, yeah,
Yeah,
you're gonna hate it. It's
yeah.
just it's so bad from that standpoint. But you can't help but kind of smile over some of the stuff that happens, and we'll see. I plan to watch it, but it is one of those shows where I could easily see myself 7 episodes in dropping if they don't develop
Right, right. If
any.
it just stalls out at some point.
Yeah, if it's
Yeah,
the same thing for 6 episodes or 7 episodes, that
yeah.
I'll have enough of it. Do you want to get us into the next one?
Sure. We've got Sekai Psycho no. Oh, I struggle over this. Anna
And Satsusha
Satsuha
and
Satsusha
yeah.
Isekai Kosuku no Tensai Suru, which is the world's finest assassin gets reincarnated in another world as an aristocrat.
So after talking about a trash isekai, we're going to
Yeah,
talk
now
about
we've got a good isekai.
the opposite of the other one, where like if you like plot and story and world building,
A lot of world building, actually. So we've got the world's greatest assassin who's trained as as part of a company from a young age, has decided to retire. He was set up to be an instructor for the company, but the company decided instead to just kill him instead.
yep,
On dying, a goddess gives him an offer. Instead of having his soul wiped clean and reborn, he has the option to be reborn with his memories into another world. The trade off is that he must assassinate the hero of that other world sometime between 15 and 18 years after he's rebirthed. The goddess provides him assistance, and a hero is reborn into a family of assassins.
yes. I definitely like this one so far. So, what do you like about it? I'm assuming you have.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. It's got a interesting premise. The main character is reasonable, and he was really cool as an old adult assassin. Now he's a kid learning about the world and how they do assassins in the fantasy world.
Yeah, it's. I do like the the way they went about the main character, where he went from being a drone in the real world to now like attempting to be a human,
Right.
which is
The
funny.
assassins in this world are trained to be humans first because you need humanity to kill people and
Yeah,
not turn into a monster
which is crazy when you compare it to the fact the company uh,
in
trained him from a
in
young
the
age,
regular world.
yeah, to be a
Yeah.
drone. No, I love the fact that they're playing with that duality. I also love the fact that in this world, magic, in essence, is up to imagination. Like he's learning the rules of the magic, and they're actually doing unique stuff with that. where
He's writing his own spells at this point, which is partially protagonist powers and partially
partially
interesting.
not, but most of the other isekai they go for that. Okay, the magic's like what you can imagine, and then the main character just does cool stuff like make a big bomb or like whatever. Whereas in this world, it's like, hey, we're gonna make a gun which doesn't exist in this world using
Mhm.
magic, or make an artillery battery in this world which doesn't exist but magic, and talk about molecular structures at the same time. So for those who like that unique imagination put on a magic system, I think it does a great job of that. And
Mhm.
I'm curious to see what other spells and uh,
Things he ends up
yeah,
coming up with.
what he creates and comes up with. And I think this one, like one of the other ones we talked about, is doing a good job of placing little crumbs and setting up potential Chekhov's guns to explore later. So it keeps your interest that way, where it's not just like, hey, here's something, and then immediately gives you the answer to that thing, or where they're like, here's a detail, and then like the next episode they answer it. They're
Mhm.
really stretching out some of these details. Um, and the biggest one, Chekhov's gun, is probably when he asks the goddess, "You're hiring me to assassinate the hero, but are you actually asking me to save the world?" Which is probably the biggest Chekhov's gun, where it's like, "Hey, do I actually have to kill this person, or can I just neutralize the threat?"
Mhm.
Um, so I'm really curious to see
Where
uh,
they
where,
go with the plot.
where they're
Yeah,
going to go with that. The only thing I dislike about it is the
the main
character.
character's a little boring.
Yeah, currently very one note, and especially I think it was the third episode where his training steps up and he has to actually kill someone. It felt like there was no development yet, because he's just
Mhm.
like, "Oh, you want me to assassinate this this person? Pfft, she's dead." Like you can tell
Yeah,
there's
no
no
hesitation
yeah.
immediately.
So currently they're setting up that he still has no emotion and he's a drone.
Right.
So we'll see if they fix that. But if they don't, that's going
Yeah.
to be kind of be a problem.
I still want to keep watching it, so I will.
I'm excited to keep watching it. Let's get into the next one. Oh, this is the one I think we really both
Oof,
like the most.
yeah,
Um,
we're gonna digress a bit on this, I think.
yeah, Komi Sanwa wa Komyoshu Desu. Komi can't communicate. Uh, I'm a sucker for romances, and this one's just right there. Oh man. So the
I don't
premise,
even really feel the romance in this, but not yet, at least.
but that's partly why it's good. We'll get into that in a second. So the premise is that Hirohito Tadano enters into high school with the goal of staying out of trouble. He immediately finds this difficult as he is sat next to Shoko Komi, the Madonna of the class. After being knocked out by accident, he wakes up to hearing Shoko meow. Shoko attempts to run away, but Hitohito reaches out to her after realizing that Shoka cannot communicate well with people. Hirohito communicates with Shoka through writing and comes to the goal of helping Shoka make 100 friends to overcome her communication disorder. Uh, Such a good premise. Such a good premise. It's like
Yeah,
how do we take a romance and make it unique versus these other high
you
school romances?
you give one person a communication disorder and have the other do all the talking.
Yeah, yeah. It's man, it's so good for that. And I think that's one of the big reasons that it's unique is as someone who watches a lot of romances and is really into them. It's such a nice premise to see. Okay, what happens in essence if one of the characters is kind of, I don't want to say shut out, but uh, just
Shut up.
it just shut up, like just can't communicate well, and it really adds that unique factor to it. Where a lot of the times the way they would do this is say have one character be super shy and the other one's just like hounding them and tries to open them up.
Mhm.
And this one's just nice because
It's a poke to open up rather than a shake.
well, it's not even that. It's so much that it's not that they're trying to open the person up as much as she already is open. Like she wants to communicate. She is somewhat interacting, but she just can't do it well. So it's an
Mhm.
interesting twist on it. What's
Yeah.
some of the stuff you like?
I know this is produced by Netflix. So if you can get a VPN and head to Netflix Japan, or just wait a couple months for it to come out. But they put a lot of money into this. It has movie level quality in the places it does, and the comical low quality where it needs to be. It's really well produced.
That comical low quality is so well done. Um, as I was looking for images for the thumbnail for this and trying to find images of Komi-san, like, oh, just the smirk every time she gets excited and they do the like super flat 2D and like the little freaking cat ears pop up.
Mhm.
It's so well done. It looks so good. And yeah, the high quality of like this the typical animation it looks gorgeous for that style. Because obviously it's not gorgeous in the same way that something like Demon Slayer is, where they do very bright contrast colors and
Mhm.
that almost hand drawn aesthetic that they have for like some of the Demon Slayer attacks. This
Yeah,
is that nice muted, like it's a classroom
it's a
style.
soft classroom. Yeah,
I love it. It looks great. Dislike wise, I don't think there's anything so
I
far.
got nothing. I got nothing.
There's some of the stuff I was like, almost seemed like plot mistakes, but by the third episode they addressed them. So I was like, okay, well, you guys got around to addressing my problems. So
Mhm.
we'll see how it continues. But this is definitely I'm gonna watch this
Definitely
one.
keep watching. Yeah.
What's the next one you want to cover?
Last on my actual list was Platinum End, which is a real dramatic, kind of dark, uh, I want to say battle royale style show.
Yeah, yeah. It's I like how we go from probably one of the most
The cutest
cutest
to
feel good
probably the
ones.
darkest that we've seen.
This is I think hands down the darkest anime I've seen since Kiznaver.
Mm,
Like, and then before that it would be Death Note.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. Death Note's a good comparison.
this is dark, super dark. Uh, with that being said, like how with the last one, the quality was really good. I actually feel like the quality is pretty decent on this,
Yeah, the quality
animation
is pretty
wise.
good here as well. Mirai has resolved himself to death and attempts suicide, and after dealing with his abusive relatives that took him in after his parents' death, he's saved by Nase, an angel. Uh, Nase grants him supernatural powers to help him live a happy life. Afterwards, Mirai learns that these powers made him a god candidate who must defeat the other 12 candidates within 999 days in a battle royale to become the next god.
Yeah, I gotta admit that's also one of the things I like about it is how they're exploring this idea that to be a good god, it has to be someone who has, in
Who
essence, resolved themselves to death.
to have given up, and then and also to have murdered a couple of other people, probably.
Yeah, part of me wonders if they have to, and if that's going to be part of the premise of the show. It's like, do you
Maybe
actually have to kill the 12 other people, or do you just have to get them to,
survive or get them to else to die, some or give up.
or get them to give up? Like, because I think, because I think he says at one point, like, I don't want these powers, I don't want to do this, and I think
Mhm.
Nasa's response in essence is that yeah, you can,
You can give up, but you will die,
yeah,
is what she said exactly. So
yeah, it's like we saved you from death, so in essence, for you, if you
you,
turn this down, we'll just
you're already
whatever,
dead.
yeah, we'll just kill you. Which so that's why part of me wonders if that's part of the idea is you could just get people to give up, like just back out. So you don't necessarily
Mhm.
have to kill them, but they'd have to in essence kill themselves. No, it's a very dark premise where it's like, okay, these
Mhm.
people who have committed to or attempted to commit suicide, we're now going to give you guardian angels and powers to fight to become God. You're all going to die anyway.
Mhm.
Uh, no, I do. I think it looks good. I think the premise is good. Um, the downside is the thing I don't dislike isn't really a thing for me. It's just if people don't like a very dark premise with lots of not necessarily gore because of like,
Right. I mean, the first episode was a little gory,
but yeah, since they have the white arrows that just sever someone's soul and stuff, there's really not, I think, a lot of gore, but a lot of death, a lot of dark thoughts and premise.
yeah, a lot of dark thoughts and premise. So
Yeah. If it's not up someone's alley, then you're not gonna like it. But
no,
if that is up your alley and you liked stuff like Kisnaver and Death Note,
yeah, check it out.
I think Kisnaver is a good example because it's dark but has that slight romance to it, like that emotion between players and stuff. Because I think this one technically got labeled as romance. I think we see a bit of that in the third episode. So there's that little bit to it, and yeah, you might like it.
All right.
I think
you want to move on to the lightning round then?
yeah, we're gonna get to a lightning round because I've watched way more shows than you, and a lot of these are not stuff I have too much to say about. So yeah, I'm gonna mention just a whole bunch of stuff real quick before we get into the continuation shows. So first off, Build Divide Code Black. It's a fantasy game style of anime. Do you have a comment about this?
No, I was holding my finger. I thought this was going to be faster lightning round. 1, 2,
Yeah.
3.
No. So the main premise: the main character has lost his memory, but has the goal of taking down the king. This is, in essence, a Yu-Gi-Oh style anime. So it's a card game. People have to play the card game and fight each other. Premise is
So buy the card game.
yeah,
Got
it's similar to like an isekai. They're all in this weird world where if you're good at playing the game, you get to move up in society. If you suck and lose a lot, you end up in the slums. Interesting premise. If you're a huge fan of like card games, stuff like the Yu-Gi-Oh shows and all that, you'll probably really like it. If you really hate the idea of spending a large part of an episode with people just playing a crazy card game, then you're gonna hate it. Seems interesting. Muv Love Alternative. So this is a like action drama. It's a mecha. It's a mecha anime. General premise is that these betas showed up. They attacked the humans like back in 1973, and they have the TSFs, which are their giant mechas or Gundams that they're using to try to fight off the betas. If you like mechas, you like that idea of like monsters fighting people in mech suits. You'll probably really like it. Delves a little bit more into the premise of there's like a little bit of time travel-y or like world hoppy, like parallel world type thing happening at the same time.
Love was a magical girl anime.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Like the title makes you think that it is, but no, it's a mecha. So it's interesting. Build Divide, I'll probably keep watching, and this I think I'll keep watching. Both of them. This one especially, I feel like after 5-6 episodes, I might end up dropping it if nothing else happens. But there's promise. Talk to OP Destiny. Oh boy. It's the kind of action fantasy music. Same premise. Like these things showed up through an asteroid and they're attacking people, these monsters. Humans developed these music carts and conductors. The whole premise is interesting. The music carts are girls that represent particular music in particular classical music. It's like the main character's music art is called Destiny because it's based off of, I think it's a Beethoven song or Bach.
What, not Destiny's
I think it's
Child?
Bach. I think it's Bach. I know those of you into classical music. I like classical music. I'm sorry, I don't know Destiny very well. But like there's some, I think it's like Bach's Third Symphony is Destiny. Anyway, the premise is that these characters help, the conductors help control the music arts to kill these things. If you really like classical music, you might find the premise interesting. But otherwise, it's just an action fantasy. Like they fight these monsters.
Sounds really dumb. I'm not touching this.
Yeah. Music and the concept is kind of interesting. The thing I don't like is the main character is really annoying. He just wants to play music, and he's like highly resistant to help and people. Like he's just obnoxious. I'll keep watching it, but at the same time, I might drop this one like 6 episodes in as well. Oh man, my Ruko-chan. It's a comedy horror. I think you said I think you've watched more than this than me. I've watched an episode.
I watched one episode after reading this docket.
Oh boy.
I agree with everything you wrote here.
Yeah. So main premise is like Miko's high school student who can suddenly start seeing, in essence, monsters, like gruesome and hideous monsters. So apparently she just, in essence, pretends not to see them to try to like protect her sanity and like her friend. She just
Yeah, she just ignores things.
yeah, so she'll just be doing something like be in her bathroom and all of a sudden this monster is like behind her and she just acts like she doesn't see it. Yeah, I don't like. I'm gonna give it 3 episodes. I'm gonna give it 3 episodes because that's kind of the rule. I might change my mind, but I doubt I'm gonna keep watching this because it's just if you like horror, you'll probably like it. If you don't like horror, you're definitely not gonna like it. It's a lot of currently monster shows up, she acts like it doesn't exist. The monster eventually goes away,
And then butt fan service.
and lots of butt fan service. First episode, at least twice, she's like leaning over for some reason, and they have her butt like as 3/4 of the screen.
And then her friend's boobs
Yeah.
are the other half of the fan service.
Yeah, it's just man, if you like butt and boob service or horror, this is right up your alley.
It has to be both because I watched this entirely for the fan service, and
Yeah.
I can't stand the horror.
If it was actual horror, I think it'd be more interesting. I think it's the fact that she just ignores. Like
Mm.
it's like horror thing pops up and she ignores it. It's that's not scary or anything. Anyway, definitely not gonna probably keep watching, but I will give it the 3 episodes because that's what I do. I think the next one's something that you saw.
Yeah, I
didn't.
added this at the last second. I watched 10 minutes of Shika Za Zakura, which is like I think the premise was a like Oni fighting with Sentai teams, but I watched 10 minutes and the CGI, it's all CGI, was so distracting I couldn't follow the plot and just gave up.
Yeah, yeah, I kind of understand that. There's very few shows that use CGI that I actually can tolerate. Nowadays, there's more and more. I feel CGI anime versus like classic style. And if it's not done well, it looks horrible. That like 3D CGI style. So yeah, I doubt I'm going to even look into this, especially if you couldn't stand it. With that, we're going to get into shows that are not new. They're on like their second season or newer. So another spoiler warning. If you're not watching continuation shows like Demon Slayer, Shaman King, Jobless, then maybe you don't want to watch the rest of this.
Which are the 3 we're covering, I think.
Yeah, we're covering those 3. So once again, spoiler alert on these 3, because I'm pretty sure some details will probably get covered. So with that, I guess we'll start right away with the obvious one, which is Demon Slayer. So Kimetsu no Yaiba, Yukaku Hen. So
Demon Train.
Kimetsu no Yaiba. I love how you have the Japanese, then if you look at the English translation, it's Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba. It's like they still don't translate the like season title. Which okay. So it's Demon Slayer. I'm trying to remember, did you say you actually had watched it yet?
I haven't watched the anime version. I've watched the movie, which covers like the first 7 episodes, so I kind of skipped it. I was told that the anime has more details, so I might binge it at the end of the 7.
Okay, kind of catch up as those are out. Yeah, it's it's Demon Slayer. Still looks gorgeous. The animation's still excellent. I think it follows a lot of it. The thing I do like about this is the fact that they are digging in more to, I can't think of his name, but the fire guy. I can't think of his name.
Breath of the Sun boy.
Yeah, but I do like the fact that they are focusing in on some of these primary characters, and I hope they continue that, where we kind of learn more and more about the different.
Rengetsu. Yeah, Rengoku, I think.
Anyway, I hope they keep that premise where, like, potentially with new seasons or new stories, they kind of focus in on some of those characters because they're all really cool and unique. I really like his premise, like his whole point. So as far as the premise for the season, they kind of spoiled the first episode with the title of the season because this is all about the Mugen Train, and that is one of the dislikes I have. Is right away they're like, or it might have been the second episode, they set up this idea that it's, something's wrong with the train. They get on the train, they kill a demon, and if you didn't know the title of the season, you might be like, oh, cool, like
solved.
It's solved. and then they make the twist of like, oh no, that was just a little nobody
minor.
demon, a
Right.
little minor guy. It's actually one of the lowers that is the problem with this train. So I feel like if the season title wasn't straight up like, obviously this entire season has to do with the Mugen train, that would have had more of a twist and more of an excitement to it. Otherwise, you're like, oh, they killed the demon. Well, this entire thing's about this train. I doubt that was the actual demon.
Of course.
Whatever.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
but
Nitpicks.
nitpicks. Still, all the characters that we love. You've got the main three plus him thrown in. Still fantastic art. I mean,
Yeah. If you like the Demon Slayer, you just keep watching this.
yeah,
And if you haven't watched the movie, this covers everything.
Yeah, still a worthwhile continuation, as far as I can tell. It doesn't feel like they're dropping the ball or anything. So if they keep that up, I'll definitely keep watching it. Do you want to cover the next one?
So the next one is Jobless, which I don't believe you started even the first season. So
Nope. So this is on that list of, oh, I didn't know this existed because I think the first one came out during my break of anime.
mhm.
You know, where I started up all this content creation. Didn't have time. So yeah, I got to get caught up.
So the second season of Jobless is still following our reincarnated hero Rudy, as they travel back to their own continent. They're still traveling after the teleportation accident from the first season. It's still gorgeous. There's still new characters. This first couple of episodes have been focusing on the smuggling across continents and the problems that came from the smuggling.
It's great since I have no idea what you're talking about. It's just like, huh, interesting.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. There were some problems that came from that, and there's some time that comes from that.
I mean, feel free to spoil stuff for me. I don't care. I'll still be fine. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't want to spoil things for other people. It's
that's why we put a
generally
spoiler
spoil-
alert.
We
But
get right.
that's why we put these at the end.
Right. We get to see some more culture of Ghislaine's family. So
Right.
you meet the Beastkin.
So, I mean, does it feel like a
Horrible.
worthwhile continuation? Or
Oh, absolutely. If you watch the first season, definitely watch the second season.
all right,
There's no loss in quality or anything.
that's good because we can't say that about it. Some shows like there's, and no, I'm not necessarily referencing the next one. I'm
I thought you
referencing.
were referencing the next one. So
No, I'm mostly
I'm going to go ahead with that.
I'm mostly referencing Baku no Hero, but
Oh,
that newest season was too much setup and not enough meat. Anyway, no, yeah, next I'm going to talk about Shaman King. I don't have much to talk about with Shaman King because I still have a bit of catching up to do, more of a referencing it for those who didn't necessarily see it, because I was on Netflix. I think it did pretty good on Netflix, but Netflix only had the first 12 episodes of the first season, and there's actually 24 episodes. So, from what I can tell, it's a worthwhile continuation. And if you really like Shaman King and only saw it on Netflix, go online, find the other 12 episodes, and new season's out. And it seems like it's doing pretty good. I don't have much to say about it because, like I said, I still have a bit of catching up to do. Because I was one of those people who was like, oh, new season. Cool. I loved watching that. And then realized that there was only 12 episodes on Netflix. And that was a like 24 episode show. The problems with Netflix.
yeah. Netflix US prefers to drop everything at once, and Netflix Japan prefers to keep the weekly sort of thing because that's how most animes come out.
With that being said, they seem to be changing because I think they already started releasing. Which one were we talking about earlier?
Is it Komi? Or they started releasing Komi on Netflix?
I saw Komi, the picture on Netflix, and it said new episodes weekly. So I think they're starting to change that, which, way to go, Netflix.
Oh,
That's the way
amazing.
you should do it.
Yeah.
Um,
Get a global release, basically.
yeah, just why not I mean, even if you have to put a week delay on it for subtitles or
Oh yeah,
whatever.
here it is. New episodes weekly. They're the first episode is out in English or on English Netflix, and then the second episode says available tomorrow as of recording, as I date the episode of recording.
I think that was all the shows though. So yeah, in essence, everything I plan to keep watching. Though I did mention a few that I wouldn't be surprised if I drop. They don't get better. So with that,
Yeah.
I do want to ask you first off, what is your favorite show right now?
I feel like Komi-sen's the easy top, but I kind of still love Jobless. It has such a good quality, and I've been a fan of it for years before the anime came out. So
Yeah, I mean,
there's a lot of high points in this. The like Paladin, excellent.
I
I
think
still want to watch Irina Cosmonaut.
I think there's a lot of. I feel like this season has a lot of um, mediocre or above anime. Like I don't see too many that I think are completely horrible. Even the ones that do seem kind of trashy, um, at least have their points.
Hmm.
Like this is probably I think the so far. I mean, I think I've touched 15-ish anime,
Hmm.
14, 15-ish, and I don't have a straight drop. Like normally I'd have maybe 2, 3 shows where I'm like, no,
Hmm.
I'm not going to watch this. I think the only one that's close is the Miruko-chan, where I still have to give it 2 more episodes, and that'll probably be a drop.
Hmm.
So it's a pretty decent season. Um, I think personally, I'm a sucker of romances, so I think Komi's my go-to winner for
Komi's your
me.
top. Yeah, I
But
can see that.
I think Assassin though is probably a pretty close second. They're just so
Assassin. Yeah.
different. But
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's hard. We could do top of category, but then we'd be here forever.
yeah, and then restaurants like just it's great.
Yeah.
It's I can't put it at the top, but man, is that just floating there?
Yeah.
It's really good fun. Is there is there any shows that you like are the bottom of the
We've
barrel? You're
we've already
disappointed.
covered that. We've already both covered that. It's
uh,
evolution. It's fruit of evolution.
I think it yeah yeah it is for me a pretty big disappointment because even the first episode I was like riding on a bit of a high. I was like, oh, this seems unique. This seems good. It seems
Hmm.
like a pretty good isekai. There's some slight issues, and then you get into the second episode and you start to see it unravel. Oh, he's dropped into a super high level area and somehow just doesn't die. Like,
Yeah.
oh, he's becoming broken. Like for some reason he everything he kills, he immediately gets like abilities and unique items.
Well,
And
that was the upgrade he got from God.
no,
His
because the
his
upgrade
perfect loop.
I thought his upgrade from God was the ability to control his pheromones, or like his body odor.
No, that was the second. I
Yeah,
think
it's
the
just
second upgrade
so broken.
because he got two because he had no friends.
It's so bad. It's such trash.
It's trash.
But I'll watch it
But
because
you should watch it anyway.
yeah, it's unique trash. I guess you could put it. Uh,
We both watched Smartphone and complained about that. So
yeah, it's but this one's so trash. I don't know that we can even do an episode on it. It'd be
no.
worse than our Spirit Chronicles one. We would just be ripping it apart. So what do you think? So as far as charts, okay, so we're gonna do 2 of these real quick. As far as charts, not counting continuations, what do you think is gonna be the top of the show, our season overall? Like just overall
Top
the
of
highest rated show.
season, probably it's gonna be Comey.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
It's been
Comey was popular before the anime, like wildly popular. The manga is adorable. I haven't read it, but I've seen clips. People love that manga, and they definitely love the anime.
I agree
Okay.
with you. I think if you don't count continuations, I think it's gonna widely rank to the top. I wouldn't be surprised if it wins a bunch of awards on the Crunchyroll awards at the end of the year.
Mhm. Yeah.
Probably main heroine it'll probably win, and just a whole bunch of them. What do you think if you count continuations? What do you think? Is it still going to be the top, or do you think something else is going to beat it?
I think Comey will still get the top because it has a wider appeal than Jobless does, and Jobless is what I would probably compare it to in terms of quality.
I'm gonna.
But though Demon Slayer is up there too.
I'm gonna.
Demon Slayer also has a wide appeal.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Demon Slayer takes the cake. I think overall it's gonna top the season. And
yeah, probably because Demon Slayer had much wider appeal. Not everybody likes like a cutesy slice of life thing, even if you ignore the romance.
I think that's what it comes down to. Is I've gotten a decent number of people into anime, and romance is always the one that just doesn't go over usually as well. Like you, for some reason, you almost have to be more of an anime fan to get into like the romances, the slice of lives, stuff like that. Action always is easier to get people into. Stuff like Baku no Hero, obviously Naruto, stuff like that. And I think that's a big thing of why Demon Slayer is going to win this season. Is it is well done. It's gorgeous looking. It's got the action. I mean, the first season was already something that got outside of just this typical anime crowd, and got into the more casual anime watchers. And I think it's going to win it again. It's going to have a wider audience, wider appeal, and it's just a good anime. So, Jobless, I think, is going to get close to it, but I don't think it's going to be able to get that broad of an audience.
Sure.
And yeah, Komi's just too niche to the anime group, like the more hardcore anime people.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It'll do good, but I don't think it can beat the continuation of both Jobless and Demon Slayer. And I know if I had any chart pulled up, I think so far it agrees. They have Demon Slayer #1, Komi 2, and then Jobless 3.
Wow.
So
yeah,
that's slightly
right
different.
With that.
Well, but I think that is slightly different because at the start of the season, it was Demon Slayer, Jobless, Komi. So far,
Komi pulled up a bit.
Yeah, so far, Komi did pull up and knock down Jobless. That's Anti-Chart. I don't know what Live Chart says. Do they even rank them? If they do it in order, yeah, it's sort by popularity. They actually have Jobless, Demon Slayer, and then Assassin.
Wow.
They have Komi all the way down at 6. With I don't know if they order it the way I think they do. With that, I guess we'll start wrapping things up. If you guys have, you want to dig into us or you want to recommend shows for us to watch, like I said, this is our seasonal one. We're going to be getting back onto each episode being a different series. You can email us at animedigression@gmail.com. You can tweet at us at animedigression. If you're watching on YouTube, hi, you can comment down below. Or if you're listening on a podcasting service, please give us a review. Let us know how we're doing. On top of that, as I mentioned, we will be covering next. We're going to be covering,
Moonlight Fantasy.
Moonlight Fantasy, there we go. Tsukimichi, Moonlight Fantasy.
I still need to catch up. I have totally stopped watching the
well, it's a rewatch, so I'm done with it. I got all my notes. I'm ready to go. But
yeah.
So we'll be putting that out, hopefully, well, from the time we're recording, probably 3 weeks away or something like that. By the time you watch this, potentially a week or 2 away. So
yeah,
watch it, and hopefully you'll enjoy that as well. I think that's about it. I don't think we have much else. So with that, I hope all of you enjoyed this, and bye.
Bye-bye.